Hey, TikTok, thought I would do a little 2025 New Year's thing. Just wanted to say, hope everyone has a nice New Year's. And hopefully, maybe if you've had a bit of a rubbish year, that your next year improves. I know it's a bit of a generic message, but I mean it. Um, One thing I suppose I've learned this year is try to be a lot more kind to myself in terms of like self speak and all of that stuff. And I've made a lot of progress. I will admit, I've made a lot of progress, but still not where I want to be. And I suppose I ended this year on a bit of a down note. I don't really know why it happened or anything, but I think I kind of know the cause, and I think I'll try and maybe impart a tiny bit of wisdom, maybe. So I think when you get that like gut wrenching feeling in like the pit of your stomach, and you're like, oh no, and yeah, you know what I mean. Um, I think most of the time that I have that feeling, it really stems from totally misjudging, totally misjudging where you are with people and things and your surroundings. What I mean by that is I realize like I maybe could be autistic, I don't know, but a lot of the things I really I misjudge how valuable I am to people, and I start to then expect things because of like where I think I am and I'm not, and that's on me. That's not on the other person. Um, and you start to like you know expect certain things, and then when they don't happen, you get hurt. But you've got to be calm, and you've got to remember like where you are to that person or that thing. I'll give you an example, right? Um, my ex, if you want to call her that, we technically never dated. It was like a 2 year stupid situationship, and because it went on for so long and it was nice and whatever, you start to expect things, and then you end up getting hurt because you're like, oh, that didn't happen, this didn't happen, I thought this would be different or whatever. And the reality is that's because in your own mind you've put yourself somewhere on their priority list or their value list or whatever you want to call it, right? And so you're thinking, oh, this person should be doing this for me, and they're not. And that's because, like I say, I get a bit deluded, and I put myself somewhere that I'm not meant to be. Whereas if I now look at it logically, like I'm out of the storm and I don't care, and I think, well, we were never dating, so that person can do whatever they want. Like, yeah, it sucks they did what they did, but they can do whatever they want because, well, if you haven't made it official or anything, unfortunately these days it don't mean anything, does it? They can do whatever they want. And as I come to the end of this year, um, I've had one or two situations like that, and I've sort of got that knot in my stomach and that feeling, and I've been like, wow, like I really thought things were different. And now when I look back and I think about like, let's think logically, let's take me out of the scenario, let's look at the things that have happened, let's look at the things that haven't happened, and then if somebody was to ask me as an outsider, are you important to that person? I'm like, well, no. I don't know if that makes any sense, but when I'm in the heat of the moment or I'm talking or whatever, I just start to assume like that this means that, and because this has happened, this means that. When in reality, like my friend always says, they don't owe you anything. And the problem is me. The problem is I continually think I am more important to somebody because the connection means a lot to me, and that's not the same thing. Like, just because I really value the connection, and maybe the other person does, it doesn't then mean that, oh, you become up here. I don't know if I'm making sense with this, but in my mind it makes sense. It does. It makes complete sense now. It's taken me a while. It's like, is it Oscar Wilde? He said something like, experience is the hardest thing because they give you the test first and then the lesson. And like, this is all new to me. Like, I never used to speak to people or go out or talk to people, so like, this is all new to me. So it is a bit of a learning experience, and because I value a lot of the connections, like I misjudge myself. Like I give you an actual example. Like I say, like many years ago in my 20s, I spoke to someone, and I've kept them on my phone for like 5 years, and I just assumed because we spoke a lot that obviously that mattered. Then one day we never spoke, and I was like, oh my god, like that really hurt. But when I look back at it now, I'm like, well, nothing ever happened. There was nothing ever set in concrete, nothing leveled up. So really, you were just a person in their phone. So yeah, it sucks that you were dropped, but oh, that makes sense. Because in my brain, like I say, it's a bit of a bad habit. I just totally. I start to, expect things, or I start to overvalue my own position. Not in an arrogant way. It's the total opposite. It's the total opposite of being arrogant. It's not like me thinking I'm so important they should care. No, they can do whatever they want. I'm actually blessed that they would even bother speaking to me because I'm bloody boring. It's not the arrogance. It is the opposite. It's like me thinking, wow, this is really great. This never happens to me. This feels amazing. Therefore, it must feel amazing for the other person. But the other person might have 50 other people they're talking to, or like tons of other amazing things going on in their lives. So me talking isn't that amazing. It's just a guy texting. And so in 2025, I'm really going to try and be a bit like not calculating, but a bit more methodical, and maybe a bit like just take a step and think, okay, where am I actually at, rather than thinking where I am. Like look at it logically, because that's something I'm not very good at. And so I do hope 2025 is better for me and you. I do think I bring a lot of this on myself. Like I say, when you're only used to breadcrumbs, if they call it that, then obviously anything slightly like that gets your attention. It does, and then you start to value it because you're pleased it's happening. Then you put yourself somewhere where you're not really. And so I've got to be a bit smarter in myself and think, yeah, that's not actually where I am. You know what I mean? That's not what that is. So when you analyze it properly and you know where you are, like you just go, oh, right, we're just people that talk. That's all it is. Then you can think logically, well, what happens to people that you can talk to? Oh, right, they can just be, put aside like whatever. And it's not on that person, it's not their fault. It's actually your fault for like expecting something more. And so, yeah, I just have to be a bit more careful as to where I am, because I go all in and I end up hurting myself and it doesn't feel so good. And so 2025, I'm just going to try, just not do that.